Broadcasting live from the Capital OTB studios, this is Racing Across America with Seth Merrow.
We'd like to thank Woodbine for their sponsorship of this program and some of the other programming and events here at Capital OTB. Woodbine open now through December, featuring great racing, including the King's Plate coming up in August, Turf Champions Day with the Woodbine Mile in September, and much, much more. Woodbine Racing, great racing north of the border. Good morning. Welcome to Racing Across America on this Sunday morning. I am Seth Merrow. Thanks for joining us. As usual on a Sunday, we'll do some stakes recaps from yesterday. Nice stakes in New York. We talked yesterday a little bit. We had Caitlin Freon, Ellis Starr. Ellis talked New York and the stake at Churchill. Caitlin obviously hit on the Mamselle, the stake at Churchill, so we'll watch that. And we'll take also a look at the Long Branch opening day feature at Monmouth. I probably should have pulled up, I didn't, but you can find it online. The 10-year-old Snap Decision wins the steeplechase race down in Nashville yesterday. It's just a phenomenal, one of those fun racehorses that just, not just a win machine, but, you know, a great story doing it throughout a long career. But that, as I say, yesterday in Nashville, I think our friend Steve Vick has been down there, not all week, maybe most of the week down there. And I saw he was at the draw, prominently featured. And but yeah, Snap Decision gets it done yesterday. All right, let's jump in. Oh, and coming up a little bit later on, we'll talk to Anthony Stabile. We'll get some thoughts for tomorrow's action at Finger Lakes and get a little update on how his first couple of weeks have gone in upstate New York in the announcer's booth. And before that, we're going to be joined by our friend Matt Miller. Matt Miller, the 2021 BCBC Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge winner. We had him on with us up in Saratoga last summer. Interesting to talk to Matt. He's got an interesting take on, you know, betting and betting strategies and goal orientation and whatnot. And when he was on with us in Saratoga, he was just in the flirting stage of the idea of writing a book. He had that kind of on the agenda, and it's just come out. A Better Way of Thinking by Matt Miller. So I thought we'd have him on this morning and talk a little bit about the new book as well. All of that coming up. But again, let's take a look at some of the stakes action from yesterday. We'll go through the New York stakes in chronological order. The Bogey was kind of interesting because you had White Beam as an overwhelming Chad Brown favorite. You had another Chad Brown in there, Asprey, but it winds up to be Nisi Marie getting it done as the second longest price on the board in a field of 5. You wound up with $17 and change. Nisi Marie is going to wind up with a big late run here. You can see White Beam, the big Chad Brown favorite, duking it out with another horse that I thought was live in here, Spirit and Glory from Rob Falcone. Seemed the alternative to the Chad Brown horses, and she lives up to the billing as that challenger. But it looks like they both took the starch out of each other. I mean, the fractions weren't blazing by any means, but Nisi Marie gets it done at the wire. The chart margin winds up to be a neck. White Beam ahead over Spirit and Glory for second. But again, it was a little bit of an upset there. And I noted it yesterday. An upset trained by Butch Reed, had last raced at Churchill in November, but had been training at Butch Reed's Parks base. And I've said it yesterday, Butch Reed has invaded from Parks a number of times this winter, come into New York and scooped up the big prize in some of the stakes action and other races. So you have to pay attention when Butch Reed is coming to New York. I said this winter, Parks horses normally don't get my juices flowing on the move to New York, but this wintertime racing is different than when you get into spring and summer, and certainly up at Saratoga. But the winter racing, the Parks horses were doing okay, but Butch Reed was stepping up in some nice company and getting it done. He'll be interesting to watch as the spring and summer progresses, I think, with some of his horses shipping in. And hopefully we don't let them all get away at prices like that. I could not pull the trigger on Nisi Marie in that 5-horse field yesterday, but she looked very good with a nice late run, getting it done again in the Bogey. Short field, but big price. A little bit later on in the fourth race yesterday, another 5-horse field. This one, Sprinters going 6 in the grade 3 Run Happy. I like 90% Maddie. I had that one over Joey Freshwater. Joey Freshwater might have been the one to beat off the triple-digit buyer in the prior start, but that looked like a little bit of an aberration. So I went with 90% Maddie, but it does wind up to be Joey Freshwater getting it done over 90% Maddie. So it was my two flip-flopped in here. Joey Freshwater will be the number 6, 90% Maddie, the number 4. And 90% Maddie just doesn't quite get going soon enough. I said yesterday, Irod Ortiz seems to be able to maintain more forward momentum when he has to pull horses out like this than other jockeys. And 90% Maddie still had that forward momentum, but didn't really get it going until, as you saw, just a few yards before that. And then, so it just kind of did get the momentum, having to swing out, but really got it going just a few steps too late to catch Joey Freshwater. So again, winds up to be a neck. It was a nice performance from 90% Maddie at that 9-2, but we come up a neck short there with Joey Freshwater. Again, kind of backing up the big performance last time. Joey Freshwater, Linda Rice, and Jose Lescano. 90% Maddie was Butch Reed coming in from Parks to just miss for a second try on the card with Irod Ortiz on board. And as I say, we'll have to watch Butch Reed. I think even as we get into spring, summer, and maybe even up in Saratoga, if he invades with these Parks shippers. Also on the card yesterday, the Peter Pan. Lonesome Boy scratched out, went over in the race at Monmouth and wound up, I think, 4th. We'll see that in a minute. But Tuscan Gold scratched and will be going to the Preakness. And I think interesting player in the Preakness. I took a little pop with Antiquarian. I thought Antiquarian, with that maiden breaker at Louisiana, in Louisiana at the fairgrounds on a big fairgrounds day, I thought that was notable. That the Pletcher runner decided to ship out of town from the Florida base to go to a big day at the fairgrounds and wound up breaking the maiden there nicely. Subsequently, run 6th in the Louisiana Derby. And the follow-up articles today did note, had broken through the gate before the Louisiana Derby. John Velasquez said yesterday, well-behaved. And seems like Pletcher and Velasquez think having broken through the gate in Louisiana Derby might have taken a little of the starch out of Antiquarian. But I just went back and I thought that maiden breaker kind of touted this one as one to watch. And Antiquarian yesterday does get it done in the Peter Pan. Going to be the number 6 horse here. You got a nice $13 and change on this one. I was surprised. But again, number 6 gets the momentum going. And I did. I felt right here like I was in a pretty good spot. But the Wine Steward, who is the 6-5 favorite, doesn't give it up very easily. And then coming up the rail is number 2, Unique Insight, who was also interesting. But then he kind of fades out of it. And running third will be Protective. But Antiquarian gets it done. Chart margin winds up to be 3/4. But I thought it was a pretty good-looking effort. And the consideration now is obviously the Belmont Stakes. It sounded like Todd Pletcher will be shipping Antiquarian up to Saratoga. I think from the article I read, Dave Grunig article, Fierceness may already be up in Saratoga. But Antiquarian headed up. They also have Mindframe, who I think they're trying to decide what to do. And they said that one may actually wait for a race down at Monmouth that will lead maybe into the Haskell for that one. But they've, nice problem to have, some talented 3-year-olds, and this one steps into that category for Pletcher and company with the Peter Pan victory yesterday. And as I say, I was a little surprised. We were 6-1 on the morning line, so we were right there essentially. But I still thought the $13.80 was a little bit generous for a horse that, again, I thought off of that maiden break. And I make the point about the maiden breaker because typically on big stakes days, these early season 3-year-old stakes days, Risen Star and Louisiana Derby and Southwest and Arkansas Derby, there's typically some very nice 3-year-old races on the undercard, either for maidens or non-winners of one other than. And they're horses that you typically have to watch, and particularly if, the Pletcher barn based in Florida, and they're saying, let's go over for one of the big days over at the fairgrounds. So the main breaker and that, scenario attracted my attention and got validated yesterday. I think Antiquarian, an interesting 3-year-old to keep our eyes on moving forward this season. All right, and we'll take a look now at the Man of War yesterday. It was a mixed day for me. I had some nice runs with nice winters like Antiquarian, and I had a few that just came up short or got going a little too late, like Maddie, 90% Maddie. And this is another one of those races yesterday where I just got going a little too late with Ohana Honor, the West Point Shug horse, 11-1, and gets going late to get up for second, but it's too late. Silver Knot, the other Charlie Appleby runner, the number 8 horse, is going to get it done here. The favorite was Charlie Appleby's number 9, Nation's Pride. That one winds up running third. But again, Ohana Honor, my horse, the number 1, makes the late run, is going to get up to run second, but it's just too late. Obviously the winner is off to the races by this point. But we will get the nod here to run second at 11-1. So a couple of logicals. I had these two in flip-flopped order. They were my 1-2 picks. I took a little shot. I had Nation's Pride in the third spot, but off the layoff, I wasn't totally convinced on Nation's Pride. So again, my top 2 flip-flop there, and you wound up with a $52 exacta. So decent little result there, despite the fact that, again, it was another one on the day where I got going just a little too late or had a trip. But as I say, it was a mixed bag because there was also some nice results mixed in there as well, like Antiquarian, as I said. So there was the stakes action in New York yesterday, nice stakes action that will play out. I would think some of these in the Belmont Stakes at Saratoga weekend right up here. Coming up, man, it's just right around the corner, right? We're 4 weeks away. So and as I walk around town, people are ready. Churchill Downs yesterday. Again, we talked with Ella Starr about this one. We talked with Caitlin Free about this one. These were 3-year-old filly turf sprinters. The odds board surprised me. I made Cloudwalker my dark horse play of the day, brought to you by the Dark Horse Mercantile. We'll have today's play at the end of this show. But the dark horse, you're looking for a dark horse, you're looking for a little bit of a price. I had this one on top at 8-1 on the morning line. We talked about it yesterday. Maiden Breaker last October was very good, a nice win. And the comebacker was a third-place finish. And Ellis Starr also liked this horse, and he commented on the trip the horse got in the seasonal debut, which he thought touted the horse nicely for yesterday. Maybe a lot of people just wildly agreed with us because as I looked up at the board, Cloudwalker was the favorite. Eventually, that changed. But still, we got 3-1 as opposed to 8-1 on Cloudwalker. And we also got, and again, another decent little trip. I thought we were going to get second, had some momentum late, but it was just too late. The winner was Twirling Queen, another horse I had in my mix at the bottom of my mix, but was coming out of a couple of wins on the synthetic at Gulfstream. Trainer, in the subsequent articles I read, was coming off a turf work in the middle of April that kind of touted them to send the horse up here. So now a 3-race win streak. And again, I'm the number 5 horse with Cloudwalker and just could not get up there to get it done. Get it done for second. Winds up half a length out of second at 3-1. With Tupi running second, a horse I didn't have in my mix. As I say, I had a little bit of Twirling Queen at the bottom of my mix on the last two. And again, the turf workout jumped out. It was the middle of April, 34 and change on the turf at Palmettos. And as I say, the follow-up article I read last night said trainer looked at that turf work and said, yeah, let's take our shot for the better part of $225,000 up at Churchill, and it paid off in that one. Francisco Arrieta on board. And Cloud Walker, again, dark horse play of the day, ran decently, but I was surprised at the action the horse took. The 8-1 might have been a little juicier than that. What surprised me, I guess, with the odds was that Nice's Pie at 9-5 on the morning line eventually went off at 9-2. And Nice's Pie was coming in with a 4-race win streak. They were all in the synthetic at Turfway, so trying the turf for the first time. But I still was surprised that horse wasn't getting the action equal to the morning line. I thought with that 4-race win streak, and Nice's Pie, betting public was right. Nice's Pie wound up running fourth in there. All right, and wanted to take a look at one more, and that was the opening day feature yesterday at Monmouth, the Long Branch. 3-year-olds going a mile and 70, and it is going to be number 6. Sea Streak in here comes up from Gulfstream Park off a second last time in an optional claimer. Had run 7th in the Holy Bull before that, but had run 3rd in the Mucho Macho Man back in January. So there was a little something underneath. Horse went off as the 2-1 second favorite. Number 1 Heartened runs second. Todd Pletcher runner, a well-beaten second. And Crazy Mason runs 3rd in there. But again, wanted to show that because, first step on the 3-year-old season down at Monmouth. It wasn't a super strong field necessarily. Again, Lonesome Boy, who scratched out of the Peter Pan, ran in here and did run 4th behind C Streak. But C Streak gets it done at Monmouth yesterday, again, to kind of kick things off, kick the season off and kick off that 3-year-old trail towards the Haskell. Just wanted to mention a couple others in here. Well, a few others. There was 2 turf sprints yesterday at Gulfstream, and they both were winning your ends for Royal Ascot races. So we shall see. They were both first-time starters. Do you come off of your debut win and go to Royal Ascot? Well, they have the opportunity. Mark Casse had Bullet in here. He was quoted in a follow-up as saying, when the race started, it was one of those they're off, you lose, he thought. And she was sitting towards the back of the pack for much of the race and made a big late run. Bullet for Mark Casse, getting it done in the Royal Palm Juvenile Fillies, winning your end. And I think he may be thinking about it. And Galbadon gets it done on the boys' side with a nice effort as well at $35. So, again, a couple of fun little turf sprint stakes for 2-year-olds down at Gulfstream, and we shall see whether they throw down the gauntlet and head over to Royal Ascot. It's always fun, Royal Ascot, if there are some American contenders to keep our eyes on. And I just wanted to mention the finale at Churchill yesterday because I talked a little bit about it. Ellen J., the offspring of Constitution and Cafefe, took action at about even money, wound up 4th, but got away badly. It was a bad trip. Everybody says, look out for this one next time. I took a little shot against that one with Lala Rose, so I was happy with the bad start. Hate to be happy with somebody else's misfortune, but Lala Rose did get it done for me. Second choice behind the Brad Cox Ellen J. Foxwood runner. But Ellen J., again, with notable breeding, runs 4th in the debut, but with a trip that everybody kind of indicates. Watch out for her next time. All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, a little bit later on, Anthony Stabile with some Finger Lakes preview action. But after the break, we'll be joined by Matt Miller, again, the 2021 Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge winner, now has a new book out, A Better Way of Thinking, and we'll delve into that a little bit right after this. Stay tuned. It's been referred to as possibly the best equine-themed gift shop on the planet. Impressions of Saratoga. Impressions of Saratoga, celebrating the Saratoga and equestrian lifestyles. It's your number one choice for Saratoga souvenirs, apparel, and gift shopping. We have gifts for the entire family, and we're pet friendly too. Visit us online at impressionssaratoga.com or come on down. Impressions of Saratoga, 368 Broadway, downtown Saratoga.
Birdstone is an outside front. They're coming down to the finish. Can Smarty Jones hold on? Here comes Birdstone. Birdstone surges past. Birdstone wins the Belmont Stakes. In front, but here comes Seth Merrow. Seth Merrow, the defending champ, to take it to Belmont. These two arch rivals head to head with Jeff Hart bearing down on them. It's going to be a three-horse photo finish to the turn. Here's the wire. Photo finish.
Welcome back. As promised before the break, it's our friend Matt Miller, again, 2021 BCBC winner. We had him sit in with us up at Saratoga last summer. Matt, good morning.
Terrific to be talking to you. Good morning to you, and happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there.
Well, and I said at the top of the show, it was kind of, you were flirting with the idea, right, last summer to write the book, and I think you were kind of committed to it, but it was still just kind of a dream on the horizon at that point, yes?
Your memory's exactly right. I had just retired as a corporate attorney, figured I'd screw around for a couple months, and then got serious. And with kind of the mentality of a corporate attorney, I attacked it like a big project. And next thing you know, for a non-author, this was my first attempt at anything. I'm not joking when I say I think I had a 400-page Word document in about 6 weeks. Credit to Pete Fornatale and the editing team, Frank Scattoni as well. They did a very good job of helping me sound more like me than apparently I do naturally. But yeah, so it's crazy that I talked to you kind of as that idea was forming. And next thing you know, a better way of thinking now exists. Crazy.
And I mentioned you were the BCBC Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge winner a few years back, and I think we have a shot of you holding the big check. I love the big check. I would love somebody to walk in the bank with the big check and hand it over to the teller. But $500K, I'm assuming that's the prize and your winnings, correct?
Correct. So the super quick premise is you take your $10,000 entry, $7,500 turns into your betting money for the weekend. Within certain limits and minimums, you play your $7,500 up to the biggest balance you can. And if my memory is correct, that year it got up to maybe $145,000. And okay, I know it's crazy. It's like that happens all the time, right? And in that particular year, based on the number of entrants, the prize money I think was another $400,000 or something crazy like that. So right, it's the score of a lifetime.
Excellent. And yeah, I was going to ask what the start. I knew there was a 10,000 buy-in, but so you're starting with 7,500 and wind up with 100 and some thousand, and then they add to that, and you walk away with $500,000. That's a pretty nice weekend Breeders' Cup. And we have a shot here, and I wanted to ask you. I think the guys have the shot. I pulled out some pictures off of your website, and there is a website, abetterwayofthinking.com. We have a graphic for that as well. But pulled up a shot, and I was sitting in here doing my afternoon show when the NHC was going on, but I had my computer tapped into the Big Show. Love to listen to that. It's a lot of fun. The best handicappers in the country. He brings them over and talks to them. And you and Howard went over and were talking with Steve Bick during the NHC. But I wanted your thoughts also on the NHC this year, because you're a guy, a contest player, and you approach it very strategically. What did you think of the winner this year, Mike Gillum, who made the cut into Sunday? I think it was 75 or 77 was the cut, and he was maybe 65 or 67. So he was at the bottom of the pack and proceeded to march on Sunday from the bottom of the pack up to be the champion. I thought it was remarkable.
It was completely remarkable. And I admit readily in this book that this format in particular does not play to my strength. I've certainly got strategies for it and whatnot. And, I have a very hard time sitting here as some sort of a quote unquote expert when I haven't done particularly well in that given tournament. That said, Mike's strategy, there's no way I could sit here and be critical or say something remotely negative. The fact that he locked in his picks that morning and kind of put on blinders for the day, to me, I don't even know how to label that. It's so different than anything I would have done or recommended. And yet, here he is, the one holding up the big check. And so terrific job. I'm just perplexed by the way the whole thing went down, but he was just incredible.
I think a lot of people are in the same boat when he said, I just stuck with my play. I mean, I guess if it's working, you stick there like that. It was remarkable. And I was going to make the comment that is different. That's the $2 imaginary bet kind of scenario. And I think you're in the same boat with a lot of contest players. They prefer the live money, which the BCBC is. And it's a different strategy, but one to the other. And I think they're both kind of interesting. I think they both have their pros and their cons. But again, as the BCBC winner, you come in as a guy who plays the live money very well. And that plays into, what is written in the book, as I understand it. So just give us, let's start out, the elevator spiel, as it were. Describe the book.
God, it's hysterical you say that, because I just had to explain to someone of the younger generation what an elevator pitch is. They'd never heard of it.
That's funny.
That might have even been yesterday. So this is a book about thinking. It is a different way of thinking. The word better, and by the way, for the URL, you could spell better either way. You got both. But
good thinking.
It is better. It is better like a better, someone who bets. There's a lot of gambling in this book and a lot of gambling stories, but it's really about thought process. It's about approach. So I talk about quite a bunch of life lessons, some of which have been learned the hard way, some of which the easy way. The same thing is true in the gambling world, but I'm taking an approach and explaining it. And so that goes for how you approach going to Starbucks on a busy day. It also approaches how you attack a live money tournament versus a pick and pray tournament. And so I get into all sorts of different aspects of approach. It's not a handicapping book. I actually admit somewhere in there, and I'm usually pretty free to say this, I'm a B- handicapper in my opinion. And people are just shocked to hear it. But one of the chapters in this book, and I don't want to ruin too much of a spoiler, I talk about the movie Rain Man and how the character in that movie is both brilliant and not brilliant at the same time because he lacks certain judgment. And in my case, I've got acutely good judgment as to what I'm good and bad at. And being buddies with people like Howard Kravitz or Pete Fornatail or whoever, terrific handicappers out there who are certainly better than I am, it makes my life a lot easier. I can rely more on their picks and focus on what I'm good at, which is the betting side.
And that brings me up, because I'd written on the page here, looking at your website where there is a description of the book, I'm making a little quote out of a passage there, understanding the nuances of betting and bankroll management. And from what you just said, it plays into what I wrote down, because I wrote understanding the nuances of betting and bankroll management versus handicapping. And I think we talk about it here on the network a lot. What we do in our morning handicapping shows, and really you watch the racetracks, a lot of it is understandably, and it's very useful, it's handicapping. But it's two sides of the same coin, but they're different. Handicapping versus betting and bankroll management. And I appreciate that the fact that we can watch handicapping shows and learn a lot about handicapping is great. But I appreciate that there is someone out there like you who's now put out a book that maybe concentrates on that other side a little bit, the betting and bankroll management.
Exactly. And in my opinion, it's the hard part.
Yeah.
And I'm not being critical of any shows or programs or anything that out there, but it's funny. It's the part that I think most of them are missing.
Yeah.
Go get the great opinions of the analysts that they've brought on, the paddock person, the person looking at the PPs, the person with the breeding knowledge, have them give their picks, and then kick it over to someone to say, what am I supposed to do with this? Some people will just do an exacta box with the 4 picks they got. And I think that's crazy. Some people, I can't even imagine the mistakes people make from a betting perspective. But getting some good advice on what to do next, to me, has always been the hard part. It's the part that took the longest for me to learn, and it's the part that I'm frankly best at. And so I feel very lucky in a certain way that I'm good at the hard part, and there are a number of people that are very good at the handicapping part, which for me happens to be the hard part. So it's a nice marriage between me and my friends, frankly, because I'm very open to listening to their picks. I make them absolutely crazy as I run circles around them, making more money than they do. And I don't mean dollars. I mean ROI. It's not a competition amongst dollars, but just efficient betting. It's so much more important than the picking itself, in my opinion.
And I'll bring that up because I watched you a couple nights ago with our friend Howard Kravitz. You were on his HHH Racing podcast talking a little bit about the book. And I picked up, you guys mentioned, the book is good for just what you just said, percentages and ROI, because some people play at a big level and some people play at a small level, but the strategies can be very similar, just at different levels.
Absolutely. And this is true in the tournament space, especially. Pick your tournament size based on your comfort level. The market has gotten better. It's not amazing yet, in my opinion, but there's lots of different price points out there. Naira Bets has a $250, or maybe it's $300, weekly tournament. That's on the smaller side. ExpressBet actually runs some tiny little feeder tournaments. I'm not in love with the format of those, but the fact that they exist is terrific. But you don't have to do the $10,000 BCBC to apply these principles. This is a goals-based approach, so it's working from where you think you need to be backwards, and it works for tournaments of every size. I could even, I've said this before, my buddy Drew Coatney, his discipline's amazing. As he tried to get better at tournaments, he would run his own mythical tournament on just a regular day like today and say, I'm going to start today with $300. My goal is 15x. And he would play it like he's playing in a tournament, trying to achieve a goal in the best and most efficient way possible. It shouldn't be a surprise. By playing with that kind of discipline and practicing that way, the guy then turns into a tournament monster when he has an opportunity to do the real deal.
To push all in on flight. God bless. And didn't he say before he made the bet, he called his wife, right? Wasn't it like, just so you know, I'm gonna push all in here, and you talk a little bit about that too. There are different strategies, and some people might not have the stomach for that, so shoot for a different level or whatnot.
Well, let me interrupt you.
Go ahead.
I'm going to give you a different way to think about what you just said.
Okay.
Right, and this is a perfect example, and I don't want to say better or worse, but it's a different way of thinking. You just said Drew bet $97,000. I say he bet 10.
Oh, well, yeah, okay. The entry fee, yeah.
He paid 10 grand to get into that tournament and to play it as well and as properly as he could. And, you know, when you pay 10 grand to enter the World Series of Poker, the fact that there's no exit ramps in the middle when you get scared, right, you have to play. They kind of force you. But here, the fact that there are exit ramps, there are people, right, myself and my crew included, that are not looking at those exit ramps. We don't care. We're there. You know, the analogy I use, we're going downtown. And so the fact that there's a bunch of exit ramps on the way there, that couldn't be less relevant. Just put me in the express lane. Either I get downtown or I don't. But there's no pulling over. I didn't enter this thing to make 3x on my money and chicken out. I would have just played cash if I was going to be doing that, because I'd have no chance at the prize pool. So within the context of the tournament, I've used the term monopoly money before. I love that expression because it reminds you it's a game. But I'd say once you're playing the game, play the game. And if you're not comfortable playing the game because 97K freaks you out like a normal person, then scale back and just don't play in something that big.
And I think, you have to have that mentality. If you're going for the gold, you have to have that mentality. Also listening, this was kind of interesting. You said as you first got in and were a better in the game, it got to a point where you decided you weren't doing it right. And that leads into the strategies you have now attained that you demonstrate in the book. But I'm wondering, at what point did you decide the way I'm approaching this isn't working? So how did you decide this isn't working? But more importantly, how did you decide how to change?
I'm not as smart as I might come off. I don't know that I totally recognized in the moment that it wasn't working. I thought that's just how it worked. I wasn't a winning player. I certainly had winning days. I certainly had winning years, but overall, I had to be a loser on some level. It just wasn't too damaging. I've always been responsible money management wise. What ended up happening to me can happen to anybody. And strangely, it doesn't even take what happened to me to make it happen. I had a huge win. I got really lucky. I hit a huge pick 5 and a huge pick 4 on Breeders' Cup Day of 2017. And I came home with a lot of money that was not typical for anything I'd ever done. And my life circumstances, thankfully, allowed me to look my wife in the eye and say to her, can I please use this for bankrolling myself in these tournaments going forward? And we were in a good enough life position that she said, fine, just put that in a separate account and do what you're going to do. And that was like taking off every shackle, handcuff, element of guilt, element of fear. Right? All of a sudden, you have someone completely free to do whatever the heck he wants. And that is so dangerous compared to the way that most people play scared. And so, it was also at this exact time that I found the world of tournaments. And what I liked about them most, and I don't want to sound too nerdy in the way I say this, they provide a perfect way to help you scale your bets for the day. You know what the tournament pays to the winner and to the third and the fifth place finisher. So you know what makes sense in terms of how you play. I have a different approach of integrating side cash play with the tournaments. We can get way into that. But the bottom line is the tournaments and the dollars involved have helped me tremendously in scaling my bets to make my integrated play make sense on the day. That's how I got so much better at this, is that the tournaments actually brought me the discipline to understand how much I should be playing on certain things. When I came on your show over the summer, I'm almost sure the horse was technical analysis. We talked about if your best bet of the day hits, you need to be a winner. I don't care if that horse is 4-5, which it ended up being. It won by daylight, if you remember. Right, it was kind of coming up with these things to say, right, now that I know how to manage a bankroll, it only goes to make sense that if your best play of the day hits, you need to be a winner. And if you set it up in advance that way, you don't find yourself caught, in the spot where your best play was in the last race and you lost all your money before that. Right. You're not going to do that. You've planned in advance for your best play of the day. And so again, I'm not telling you what your best play of the day should be. I'm not telling you what race it should be in. I'm telling you, think in advance about what your day looks like and how dumb you're going to feel when you lost all your money on the pick 5 and have nothing left to play your horse in the last race, who goes on to win and make you feel even dumber.
And that's interesting too, because that's something you and I talked about this last summer, and it's something I find fascinating when you talk, and having listened to you in the past on Howard's show. Having a goal during the day, and you mentioned Drew, and I think he's in that camp too, and that playing the mythical $300 a day and having I want certain X of an end game. I think a lot of players come into a day or play contest and just think, I'm going to try to win. And I think you guys are kind of saying, don't just come in shooting randomly like that. Have a real goal in mind. You're going to take your starting bankroll and you want it to get to here and figure out how you're going to get there.
Absolutely. And in the context of a tournament, people are actually a little more willing to come around to that line of thinking now. I think if you look at the results of these tournaments, they tend to show quite a similar pattern in terms of what it takes to win them. And so I do think that a goal-oriented approach there is easily sold to a participant who's open to this kind of thinking. The hard part, in my opinion, is convincing whoever's listening to this show what they're going to do today. And, I'm not harsh in the book. I'm not rude. I don't make fun of anybody because like I said, I was so average or below average for so many years. I've so been there. But yet, look at what someone's going to do today. And my challenge to them is to ask in advance, what's your plan? What does a good day look like? What does it mean to be successful? Is it just to win every race? Are you betting the same amount every race? Bring what you're going to bring. I'm not judging that, but do you have a goal? If you're bringing $100, would you be happy coming home with 500? If so, why are you betting more once you hit that? Maybe you should be happy hitting your goal. It's the approach to every day that I find so interesting. And I'm going to go back to what we talked about with Drew a little bit. Here's the beauty of his approach. He's a responsible person. And so the tournament strategy often calls for building a bankroll during the tournament with a couple of strategic moves and then a big push at the end. The cool part about what Drew does is he may have built his bankroll to 5X. And he may have found a 2-to-1 shot in the last race as his big tournament play, but he may opt to not make the bet in real life because he doesn't like making bets of that size. And so he knows that he set up the mythical tournament for himself perfectly. But when you're actually betting in cash, you don't have to do the big final shove if that's not the kind of player you are. And for him, he knows his bankroll, he knows his budget, and plays just remarkably responsibly. I'd say this is available to anybody. Set a goal for the day. Even better than that, don't just say, I want to win. Again, the guy that takes 100 and says, I want to win 500. Don't just say that. Plot a course. Where's the horse on the day that you like the most? Maybe you allocate a third or a half your bankroll to that. And so it's not just a matter of saying what you want. It's actually looking at the card and saying, this is how I think I can get there. And leave yourself some outs and give yourself, everything doesn't have to be a single, but give yourself a bunch of chances to get to goal. And trust me, it's a really fun time to walk into a racetrack saying, this is what I want to do, and then do it.
Yeah, scoring. Matt, we got to wrap here, but just kind of wrap it up and talk a little bit about what you hope people walk away from after they read the book.
That's a great question. I hope people feel like they are better on the betting side, that they're clearer on their objectives, what they're trying to do. For me personally, I'd love to hear from people in terms of what they like, what they don't like. I don't know if another book for me is in store. I'm actually debating the corporate speaking world. I do think there's some good motivational stuff to come of this, so we'll see. But for the moment, I can't wait for this upcoming summer and to be talking to people who are reading this thing. So thanks for having me, Seth.
Absolutely, and we'll plug in again when you visit again this summer as well. And again, we'll tell people to swing by the website. You can buy the book at the website, learn more about it there. There's the web address as well. A Better Way of Thinking by Matt Miller. Matt, appreciate it, and look forward to talking again.
Awesome. Good luck today. Thanks.
All right, we'll take a break, and when we come back, Anthony Stabile will take a look at some action at the Finger Lakes tomorrow and catch up and see how his first couple of weeks have done in the announcer's booth. All of that right after this. Stay tuned.
Sometimes it pays to go with the flow, to check your worries at the door, to reconnect with your crew, to follow the thrills and the flavor, to roll with it and see where it takes you, to enjoy every minute to its fullest, and to dance like there's no tomorrow. You can do that here at Rivers Casino and Resort Schenectady, where the good times flow.
Want to get your career in horse racing off to a fast start? Well, the University of Arizona's Racetrack Industry Program is your winning ticket. The Racetrack Industry Program has served as a springboard to some of the industry's most successful individuals, with a proven track record of job placement right out of college. If you want to earn a degree in the exciting horse racing industry, the Racetrack Industry Program can put you in the winner's circle.
Come on.
I want sales reports on my desk by Monday.
Whoops. My bad.
Love racing? RTN brings you every live simulcast on your home television, plus live video streaming and race replays on your PC and mobile devices. To order, visit rtn.tv. RTN, a breed apart.
Welcome back to Racing Across America. As promised before the break, joined now by our friend Anthony Stabile, the Big A. Anthony, good morning.
Good morning, Seth. How are you?
Very good. Happy to have you on board. And we're going to talk a little Finger Lakes for tomorrow in preview. But before we do that, obviously, the past few days, been asking everybody we've had on the show, Derby thoughts. What were your thoughts on the Kentucky Derby? I said, and I think it's in agreement with everybody, really 2 great days of racing. I thought Friday, Torpedo Anna, I thought was spectacular. But First Mission, Idiomatic, Overcharged. Friday was a big day. And then the exclamation point was on it with the Derby, which you couldn't ask for more excitement. But what were your thoughts on the Derby?
Exciting couple of days. I'm going to tell you one thing. The one thing that resonated with me a little bit, and I hate to be the Debbie Downer here, is I don't know where all the good horses are. I'd like to say Idiomatic, there was not a superstar. I didn't see a superstar on the 2 days. I'd like to see more of that. As a fan,
let me ask though, what about Torpedo Anna? You don't put her in. It's early in the. No, okay, all right.
Nah, not for me. Not for me. I think they're an average bunch. With that said, the fan in me is disappointed. The gambler in me loves this because without the star power, they're more competitive races. I mean, there's no way around that. So I think that was the good thing. And there was a lot of exciting races, right? When there's not a standout, you're going to see a lot of close finishes. The Turf Classic was a fantastic race, and I was on the wrong end of it by a half a nose, but still a fantastic race. I mean, you can never know. It's one of the most thrilling derbies, right? We got to go back to Cavalier and Grindstone in '96 to talk about a finish like that. So yeah, I mean, it was a lot of fun racing. I wish it could have been a little more profitable, but if you can walk away from it entertained, which I was thoroughly, master of the obvious here. Can't believe they didn't hang an inquiry sign. Can't believe they didn't take Sierra Leone down. But we talk about beating a dead horse, for pun intended. There's no reason to really expound on that. I disagree with all the decisions, like I normally do. So, but listen, the Preakness field keeps growing. Chasing Freedom just announced that he's going to come back. That's why I bet in the Derby. And Muth looks like a Godzilla running around Tokyo at this point. But I'll probably bet a few dollars on Chasing Freedom at 6-1 in the Preakness.
Yeah, I think it's not shaping up now to be a nice race now that the Derby winners decided to go, and some others. Did you do, and I think I read on Twitter you did, your annual Derby at one of the casinos, like down in Connecticut or what? I'm just wondering what the crowd was like.
It was great, Mohegan Sun. We changed it up a little bit this year. We did an invite only and opened it up later on in the day. Fantastic crowd. All the you, Jimmy and Steve and the ladies and all of the usual crowd. Brad Bryant does a great job. Shout out to my man, Zach Montoya, who wasn't able to make it. Hopefully we'll have him back for the Belmont. But the whole crew, Madeline and Shaquille and Chris and the whole gang of Mohegan do an amazing job. I will be back at Mohegan for the Belmont. And looking way ahead, Breeders' Cup. So I'm at Finger Lakes on a regular basis, but for racing's biggest days, you can always catch me over at Mohegan Sun in Connecticut. Yeah,
as I said, I knew you annually did that, and I'm just curious as to other venues. I think Derby Day is always a big day at racetracks around the country, and people, it's funny, you look at some of the racetracks, and they're still, the ladies are still wearing the hats and whatnot. It's nice to see. It's a big day, and as I say, it turned out to be 2 nice days of racing as well.
We had a great day at Finger Lakes as well. On-track handle was up like 12%, 10 to 12%, I believe. We opened the doors early at 10 a.m. We're going to do the same thing for Preakness. So next Saturday, ordinarily we open at 11:30 at Finger Lakes Gaming and Racetrack, but we'll be open at 10 o'clock next Saturday for the entire card from Pimlico on Saturday. There is, you can, advanced wagering available for Black Eye Choosing on Thursday, advanced wagering for the Preakness on Friday. Those will be the regular 11:30 open doors, but on Preakness Day, on Saturday, May 18th, Finger Lakes will be open if you're in the area, starting at 10 a.m., so you can play that entire card from Pimlico.
Excellent. And before we get into tomorrow's action, also, the last time we talked to you was the day before opening day, so now you have a couple of days up in the booth, watching and listening, doing a nice job, but give us from your perspective how the first couple of weeks have gone.
It's been amazing, just like you're saying, just up in my booth and something I've always wanted. I'll tell you the one thing that's a little bit. So 2 things have gotten me tripped up a little bit so far, but I rectified one and the racing office rectified the other. The races that start in front ahead of you, when you look at the backstretch, right? Most often than not, a racetrack, 6 furlong races start right in front of you or behind you. And when I say behind you, I mean if you're looking out at the track to your right.
Yeah.
Well, all these 4.5 furlong races, I'm looking at the back of the starting gate when the gate opened. Oh. So it kind of trips you up a little bit. And then it got a little bit of 5. We had 1 at 5.5 on Tuesday. There's only 1 4.5 tomorrow. We go to 6 furlongs for the opener, which we'll talk about in a minute. And the other thing that makes no sense that tripped me up was the numbered hats, the colored hats. So unlike most venues, the owner's cap does not get used. We use red 1, white 2, blue 3, and that took a little getting used to for me. So, because I've never called it a plate, and the colors again, because I've been calling harness, and the harness racing uses different saddle towels and helmets than the thoroughbreds. So it took a couple of days, 3 days, but we're back in the swing now, and things will be their regular pristine self starting tomorrow. Yeah, that I will say, I kind of got into betting and handicapping and whatnot right up the harness track at Saratoga, and I still love to go. But now when I go to the track, now I focus on the thoroughbreds so much. You see the green saddlecloth coming down, and you're like, yeah, that's my own. Then you realize, no, that's not my own. That's the harness green, and that is confusing with the different. And the cap thing, Tampa does that too, I think. They have the number color. Tampa does it, yeah. Tampa put the number on there as well. Mountaineer does no silks at Mountaineer. The 1 wears red, the 2 wears white, the 3 wears blue silks and everything. So our sub-silks at Finger Lakes, the 3 sub-silks, it's all blue.
Oh, I didn't
with a white FL on the back, yeah.
If there was any track that didn't use the silk. Wow, that's wild. All right, let's jump in. Tomorrow's action at the Finger Lakes kicks off with a maiden special weight event going 3/4 of a mile. What did you see in the opener tomorrow?
I thought Skylar's Artemis for our leading trainer, Michael Ferraro Jr., and Anthony Ferraro, you'll read it in your PPs. He started off, he's got a wicked hot start. They're winning it over 35%, 9 of 14 have hit the board. He gets this horse from John Terranova. So this horse has been on the NYRA circuit. He's raced at Saratoga and Aqueduct exclusively in his career. He gets the ultimate equipment change tomorrow, fresh gelding. So last time out when blinkers were added, he showed more speed than he ever had. And now the gelding, I think, will help me even more. The circuit relief, too, draws inside for a hot barn. Luis Ferrez going to ride. He won 3 races in the first couple of weeks. So, yeah, I thought Skylar's Artemis made a lot of sense. We're going to deal – there's a chance we're going to deal with some moisture tomorrow, too. There's some rain coming in the morning. And then Tuesday looks like it'll be more rain. Rain coming in the morning tomorrow through the card. It looks like right around the 4 o'clock time it's going to stop. But, yeah, so keep that in mind when you're handicapping. And then the other horse I thought made sense in the open was the Delaware Boys, who gets the blinkers back on. He had blinkers in his first 2 starts, and then LASIK was added. He made his local debut last week, opening day, actually. And he was wide throughout. He gets a pair of blinkers, and he gets Perez goes to Skylar's Artemis, so he picks up Kevin Navarro, won a couple of weeks. So 1-4, a little shocking in the opener.
All right. That kicks off an early pick 4. The early pick 4 will wrap up in race 4. Race 4 also kicks off a pick 5. So it's the final leg of a pick 4. It's the kickoff leg of a pick 5. 4th race, Finger Lakes tomorrow. Claimers, non-winners at 2. They're going to go 5 furlongs. What you see in the 4th?
Yeah. So here's my play of the day. My best play of the day, and you can catch that over at Capital OTB. Escape Mission, number 6, returns from the November layoff for Ronnie Breed Jr. Ronnie and Deborah Breed have done a sensational job getting these horses off of this 5-month layoff. I mean, everything seems to be firing. He's won with 2 of his 6 runners, a second and a third as well. But even the horses that were off the board, they're just flat out running. And there were a few things I liked about this horse. He could have run him for 5-2 life. He's not. And he could have wavered him. He's running him for the 11 down to 9, which I think is a good sign coming off the bench, bumping him up in class. And the other thing is there's one speed in here. It's number 4, War Smoke for Jeremiah Engelhardt. This horse has made 3 starts since October of 2021. And Maya's just having a tough time keeping this War Dancer gelding on the track. He's fast, though, and they're the only 2 speeds in here. So I would imagine that War Smoke's going to go. Escape Mission can pocket right up off of him and hopefully get him in the lane. I'm going to play Escape Mission to win. I'm going to make a box, a 4-6 box. That's the other speed, War Smoke. And then the 2, Captain of My Heart. Talk about another young lady, Linda Dixon. Everything seems to be running off the bench. So this horse is 1 for 13 at Finger Lakes. All of his racing has been done at Finger Lakes. But if they hook up, if War Smoke and Escape Mission hook up early, I can imagine that Captain of My Heart's going to pick up the pieces. I don't like the favorite profitability. He won the opening race in the meet, automatically in for the tag now, and this is where he probably belongs, but he really tripped out opening day. I'm going to try and beat him.
All right, sounds good. And finally, let's take a look at race number 6, more maiden specials. Again, going 5 furlongs. Your thoughts on the 6th?
There's a $100,000 son of Munnings here that was purchased last year as a 2-year-old named Sky's Winning Bid for Anthony Ferraro and SJB Stable, who own and train the horse I like in the first. Caber Color, our leading rider from last year, is going to climb aboard. This horse is a solid, not spectacular work tab, but I like the fact that he worked this horse 5/8, going to run him 5/8. Jayla, the 1, and the 2, Dale Avenue, are the horses underneath. They both exited a maiden race from opening day. They're just, if the firster can run, there's another first of the Sky's Winning the Bids outside. It's the 5 Ain't No Lady. If one of the fillies can run first off the box, I would imagine they're going to dominate here. But I'm going to see if Sky's Winning Bid, the Munnings 2-year-old, 3-year-old now, can get the job done.
That's wild. 100K at a 2-year-old sale last year. All right. There are some thoughts on the Monday card. Anthony, as always, we appreciate the visit and the thoughts, and we will talk again.
Talk to you soon, Seth. Happy Mother's Day to all the ladies out there.
Good call. Anthony Stabile from the Finger Lakes. And before we go, I am going to give you the dark horse play of the day for today. Again, we ran third yesterday in that stake at Churchill. I went back to Churchill because some of the turf racing is off down in New York. I was looking at some turf runners down in New York, but they're off. The feature is still on, I think, in New York. So double check your scratches and whatnot in New York. But given the situation, I went with the 8th at Churchill for today's Dark Horse Play of the Day, brought to you by the Dark Horse Mercantile in downtown Saratoga. It's the 8th race at Churchill today is a starter allowance, 6.5 furlongs. I have Gold Luck on top as the Dark Horse Play of the Day, 10-1 on the morning line. Francisco Arrieta on board. We talked about him winning the feature yesterday. But, boy, this one comes in really good form down in Oaklawn. And, again, I like that Oaklawn venue move this time of year. I talk about it all the time. But a nice win down at Oaklawn in a conditional claimer 2-back. Tried this kind of starter allowance company last time and ran a nice second behind the next out winner. Arrieta was on board both of those efforts. I don't know. Maybe I'm kind of hinting that I wonder if we'll get that 10-1, but I can only at this point go by the morning line. Chance at 5-2, I have right underneath and probably will take some action, certainly, with Jose Ortiz on board and also coming in good form. GT 500 is in my mix at 6-1, but I'll tell you what, at the 10-1 morning line price, I think Gold Luck is very live. So Dark Horse Play of the Day today is race number 8 at Churchill, horse number 8, Gold Luck. Again, brought to you by our friends at the Dark Horse Mercantile in downtown Saratoga. Always stopping by right on Broadway, a couple blocks down the street on the other side, their sister store, Impressions of Saratoga, also a lot of fun. And I continue to say it, if you do stop by and browse through, you will appreciate it. And tell them we sent you. Say hello on behalf of us. But I guarantee you will enjoy the visit to both Dark Horse Mercantile, Impressions of Saratoga, Broadway in Saratoga. All right, I'm going to wrap it up for Racing Across America on this Sunday morning. Thanks to Anthony Stabile. Thanks to Matt Miller. And again, don't forget you can visit the website, abetterwayofthinking.com, and check out Matt's new book. Again, he approaches the game in an interesting kind of strategical way that maybe will give you a new and different way of kind of thinking about things, and that it's always worth exploring. All right, I'm going to wrap it up. And again, I'm just looking up the Naira Signal is showing a graphic, and we probably have a while before the pregame. Yeah, they start at 1:05, so we're probably a little while before their pregame show kicks off. Churchill today is going to be 12:45. Those are the two tracks I'm looking at, and we will have more action here on the network this afternoon. But I'll be back again in a little while with OTB Live for Sunday afternoon. So looking forward to that. Hopefully you are too. It was a fun day yesterday. Started out, we were really cooking along, and then kind of faded late. But overall, the day worked out very well. Well, we had the winner in the last at Churchill, so I guess it didn't completely fade late. But overall, it was a nice day yesterday here on the network via the one sheet. Don't forget, you can always pick up the one sheet with selections, Brian Addo's Matrix as well. Go to capitalotb.com, click on the handicapping link, then click on handicapper support. Nice printable Capital OTB one sheet most racing days, including today. All right, wrapping it up for Racing Across America for this Sunday. Seth Merrow in the studio. Always appreciate your tuning in. We'll see you in probably about an hour and a half or so for OTB Live for a Sunday afternoon. See you then.
No matter where in the world you are, the excitement of wagering on horse racing is just a click away. You'll get live streaming, past performances, race replays, our virtual tote board, analysis and selections from professional handicappers, a simple, safe, and secure wagering platform, and best of all, you get track prices. CapitalOTBBet.com. Bet any place, anytime at CapitalOTBBet.com. And be sure to download our new mobile app from the iTunes Store or Google Play.
It only takes one upset to make history, and now you can be part of Saratoga's long tradition at the Dark Horse Mercantile. The Dark Horse Mercantile offers a carefully curated selection of clothing, gifts, and home decor, from one-of-a-kind vintage racing memorabilia to select brands like Barber and Under Armour, as well as exclusive Dark Horse branded merchandise. So celebrate the Dark Horse in all of us at the Dark Horse Mercantile, downtown Saratoga, where the smart bet is always the Dark Horse.
Want to get your career in horse racing off to a fast start? Well, the University of Arizona's Racetrack Industry Program is your winning ticket. The Racetrack Industry Program has served as a springboard to some of the industry's most successful individuals, with a proven track record of job placement right out of college. If you want to earn a degree in the exciting horse racing industry, the Racetrack Industry Program can put you in the winner's circle.
We'd like to thank Woodbine for their sponsorship of this program and some of the other programming and events here at Capital OTB. Woodbine open now through December, featuring great racing, including the King's Plate coming up in August, Turf Champions Day with the Woodbine Mile in September, and much, much more. Woodbine Racing, great racing north of the border.
You're watching OTB TV, a service of Capital Off-Track Betting.